Well, it's been a quiet week here in Lake Skabegon, my hometown. This week, the Squids talk about the future Furnace Fest trip that is now in the past. Brock recaps his trip to Indianapolis, stage diving mishaps, and coffee with Ronnie Martin. Then they are joined by the special guest Klank. They hear about his new dog, facing the Cornerstone firing squad, working for the circus, feeding the hungry, new music, TomCon, jaywalking, and more.
Hey, happy Failure Puddle Friday, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
By the time this comes out, we'll be back from Furnace Fest.
Wow.
We had so much fun at Furnace Fest.
Guys, you had so much fun. I was envious the entire time reading the group chat. Very, very envious.
Yeah.
All those cool celebrities you met.
Oh my gosh.
All the listeners who thronged you. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when we met? Insert here. Remember that amazing insert here set? Remember at the hangs in the parking lot with insert here?
The biggest surprise of all was insert timeout music here.
But what about insert set here?
That was surprising. Too bad they had sound issues, but then again,
not surprising for insert stage here.
Right. I mean, you have to plug in the guitar into the amp, though. That I find that helps.
was not prepared for insert surprise guest here who vocaled with them. Didn't see that coming.
No.
Oh, did you guys go eat at insert food cart here?
I did.
Yes, twice.
I had to break it up, otherwise I would have been at Mi Pueblo the entire time. So
man, they serve the best insert food here.
Yes. Guys, we're in the future and we're dumb.
Did not make us smarter.
Did we expect anything else?
No, of course not.
The passage of time did not increase our intelligence.
See, Tammy, we have guests and we still make the same dumb jokes.
That's right.
Do you guys want to hear about my trip to Indianapolis?
100%.
I do,
yes.
Yeah.
That's right. We haven't talked about that yet. Because you weren't here. You were traveling back last week.
That's right. Yeah, I was on my way back when you were talking to Chad. Great episode, by the way.
It was fun, right?
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be in charge of the pond stage in 2026. I'm taking that as a verbal contract. You didn't know that part of the game.
If you say it, you can bring it into being.
It's recorded and published. He has to do it. That'll
Yeah.
stand up in a court of law. I'm a lawyer.
Your Honor, if you'll scroll to 1 hour, 20 minutes.
It's also a clever way to get our listeners up. Force a courtroom to listen.
But yeah, it's a fun little intro on Pickle and Boot Shop on episode 183. Them giving away our secrets on how we get all our guests.
That's right.
Yep. Turns out if you put an iPhone in the bag, everybody wants to come on your show.
Yeah.
iPhone and a koozie, you get them all.
So thanks to all our Patreon members for
paying for these
everything
iPhones.
We honestly couldn't do it without without the millions of you that donate.
Yeah. That got us that Apple sponsorship, so we get free iPhone a week.
Yep.
For a guest. The newest ones, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who told those two, though. How'd they catch on?
I don't know.
Somebody let the cat out of the bag.
It's a shame. But Indianapolis, how was it?
Indianapolis. It was great, man. It was, I was bummed that I had to miss Prayer Chain in Nashville.
Right.
Because that's definitely something that a lot of people were talking about. By all accounts, looked like a great show from what I saw. Although I will tell you, from the pictures that I saw, I feel like the room in Seattle where I saw Prayer Chain may have been the better looking show. I don't know.
Wow.
I feel like the visuals maybe popped a bit more. I think the pictures that I saw of the Prayer Chain Nashville, and this is no shade on anybody, but the visuals were pretty enveloping in the room. I think it's because they covered the entire stage area. In Nashville, they just looked maybe a little bit smaller, but who knows? I think all told, those who love the Prayer Chain got the Prayer Chain, and Morzan opened for the Prayer Chain in Nashville, and Darren King from Utebath was their drummer on that gate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry that I'll apologize for Pete not being here to properly express how big a deal that is.
Right.
Let me go over to the mute math corner real quick. You guys
Yes,
talk to
please.
each other. Hang on. I'll just well, self, you know that Darren King was in Mute Math, and you know how much you love Mute Math, and well, that's about all there is to say in this Mute Math corner. Okay, I'm
Who's
back.
excited about? Oh, wait, you're done.
um, but yeah, while everybody was going to Prayer Chain in Nashville, the same weekend, the Elms, huge band to me. We talked to Tom from the Elms a couple of weeks ago, and it was cool to get to talk to him and get to, he and I had gotten to know each other just kind of through the internet, but to talk to him voice to voice on our show was a lot of fun. And it was really cool to go and see them in person. I had forgotten that I had seen them with a group of kids at a youth conference in Oregon, years and years ago. I was like, I've never seen the Elms before. And it turns out, of course I had. It was just at this, the less produced environment, probably. Great show, I'm sure. We bought their disc that they were selling when they were there. But yeah, with 4 complete albums and a bunch of other stuff under their belts, and then 10 years since their last performance and 15 since they'd been a band. They hadn't been together in a long time. But I don't know if either of you guys have this, where maybe you don't realize how deeply ingrained a band's music is in your head until something happens. And I always knew that I loved the Elms, but there was something about, in the past 5 years or so, first the vinyl box set that came out in 2020, which was for sale there, and a lot of folks bought vinyl, which was very cool to see.
Nice.
They were they worked their way into my head, and I was like, man, there's some good stuff here. So let me spool off a couple options, and you guys tell me what you're most interested in. One, I rented a van, and I did not rent a hotel. So I lived in a van for like 3 days. So that was cool. 2,
Nice.
the Elms, 2 nights of the shows. Got to meet some people, got to see some songs. That was pretty great. 3, got to see some other things that were not connected necessarily to the Elms. So met up with CCM member Jim, who collects CDs, and met up with Ronnie Martin down in Bloomington from Joy Electric. So which way would you guys like to go? What would you like to hear about?
All of them.
I was gonna say, what if you went 2, 3, 1, but just proceeded through all of them?
All right, 2, 3, 1. So starting with the live shows, 2 nights of live shows, and I felt like they didn't feel rusty at all. They felt like they were well rehearsed, and that they had their catalog on lock. They opened the first night with their well-known song "Speaking in Tongues." That's the one that sounds like the was it not Zach Bryan, but like there's that country song that has that riff in it that sounds like it. Except the Elm song is better. "Speaking in Tongues" is a great song. They opened up the show with that. They have so many up songs. I know that they don't really have a lot of ballads. Even their slow songs end up hitting pretty hard most of the time. So it was a lot of energy, and they played, I'd say a good hour and a half, probably something like that.
Really?
The set lists are there. And I use setlist.fm, which I'm finding is maybe the less preferred option compared to other set list tracking websites, but, the sets are there. And so you can check out, what it was that they played if you'd like to know in their entirety. But yeah, just a lot of energy. Tom he's a monster guitarist, and so many of their songs kind of feature him just doing that. Owen, the frontman, he's a big personality, and he's not like, he looked like he was having so much fun, which was, I think it's, nice. There are different ways that you can present yourself as a band, and I think it'd be easy for the Elms to present themselves as maybe really hard rock and roll, kind of serious. But Owen is not, he's dead serious, and he's also not serious most of the time, I think, just having a great time on stage. And so, he brought a lot of that to the performance, which was great. He's a left-handed guitarist, which I don't know that I thought much about, but, his guitar points the other way than all the other guitars on stage. So, so that's kind of fun too. Excellent lighting. I thought that the stage production, I think they've got front of house, back of house. It was a small venue, but a lot of people could fit in there. First night was sold out, and so that was cool to see. But the lights, like everything was so well produced. The bassist's hair, very tall, When I got to meet him, I asked him, who's your barber and how do you do this? And he was like, here's what I do. Here's my routine. But you also have to be as good looking and have as good a hair as he does, I think, no matter what, no matter what you do with it, you have to start with being good looking and having good hair, which he does and is. And the drummer, definitely, Chris pounds those skins hard. And he had this fun bit on night one of, what was it? Like they were like, we got this new song. They played What a Time to Be Alive. And, as they were introing it, he stands up from behind the kit and he's like, if you don't like it, the door's right over there. You can get out. That way. Out.
Perfect.
And he just kept bringing that back over through the night. So if you like absurdist humor and you like the repetition, even after it's no longer funny, like you have to push through it not being funny to it being funny again. And he
100%,
did.
yeah.
But the set was long enough that it didn't feel overdone to me. So anyways, that was a good time. But so many great songs. Obviously, they played "Hey Hey," that's the one that everybody knows. But it was interesting to me looking at the crowd. I was about halfway back in the room with my back to a big pole, so that way I'm not the tall guy standing in front of somebody else, unless they're also standing behind a big pole. So it's not entirely my fault that they can't see. I was standing there and watching the crowd, and it was interesting to me that a lot of guitar bands end up being, I don't know, like they might skew towards maybe a male audience, which isn't a bad thing, but they might have kind of a niche of like, oh, these are guys that really like guitars, but there were also a lot of women in the crowd, and they knew all the words, and I think that it's maybe telling of a band's success when it plays, to all genders across the spectrum, that like, hey, this is music for guys who like guitar. It's music for ladies who like a good song and like to dance. It seemed like it reflected that, they had a lot of people who love them. And that was cool to see as well. So
nice.
Yeah.
So the first night was full for sure, right? Because it was sold out.
Yeah. Yeah.
How full was the second night?
The second night was maybe half as many people. Like I felt like there was a lot more room. Like there was still basically a full room, but more space between people. So the fire marshal was happier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the second night, like it wasn't when you do multiple nights, the band performs differently on both nights. I think there was definitely more energy in the room, I think, just from the sold outness of the show. And so that was definitely a thing. But yeah, I think it wasn't that they performed poorly. It was that there was a kind of a different there was a different energy from the stage. And they were also probably tired from having done it the night before and from having been up until 2, 3 a.m., whatever it takes to be up. But I was also impressed that, they definitely, I think, as any classy act does, they acknowledge the audience's place in making it happen. That, if the crowd's not here, we're not here. If you don't like our music, you don't support our music, it doesn't happen. So kind of a lot of gratitude, which definitely, it's nice to be appreciated as an audience member and as a fan who loves the band. And I think it's a nice token for the band to say something like that. But they also said, hey, don't leave without saying hello. We want to talk to you if you want to talk to us. And so for a long time after the show was done, they did hang around until the venue was like, hey, we need to clean up, and sort of kicking people into the vestibule. So that was really cool to see.
Here's a random question for you. Since you're not drinking alcohol in 2025, does that change the evaluation of a venue for a show when that's off the table? Are you looking for different things?
Yeah, free water. They did have free water. That was nice.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it needs to be cleaner and like not trashy bathrooms if you're not drinking, right? Like you want to like a better atmosphere.
That's true. I peed less at that show because I wasn't. You know what? I don't think I ever used the bathrooms inside the venue, honestly.
Oh, there you go.
Because I was just sweating out the water and replenishing it. So,
but yeah, because if you're drinking and go to a show, it's like, how long are the lines? How easy is it to get a drink while the band's playing? What are the bathrooms? Like your evaluation of the venue all of a sudden has a lot to do with your ability to acquire and replace alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what else is? The price.
Very
It's
true.
true. It's true. I could afford a shirt.
Becomes a lot more economical.
Yeah.
How many people did you recognize from night one to night two? Or was it
There
like
weren't too many
varied?
repeat customers. I mean, there were a few,
Okay.
and I did meet Dan Ficker from the internet.
Hmm.
He's been blogging about CCM for a long time. In some form or fashion on some platform or another. I think he and I ended up having dinner before the show the second night because he was in town.
Oh, cool.
But he's also a huge Elms fan. He's been to, I think, many of their shows over the years, and so he was at their last, presumably their last show last time in
Right.
2015. And I think he was also at the one when they were closing it down in 2010, but I forget.
Wow.
Anyways,
Nice.
nice guy, and appreciate he's been doing music journalism, independent music journalism for a long time. He was talking about kind of getting to the point where they had enough people following. I don't know if it was like MySpace or whatever back in the day, but enough people following his website that he ended up getting labels sending him stuff for free to evaluate, to review. So maybe
Nice.
someday maybe that'll be us. Who
That's the
knows?
dream, right? There you go. Free music or for free passes to shows. That's all we're looking for.
That's right.
And iPhones and swag bags as
Yeah.
well. Kevin, you could try that now. Get your pen and paper out, get a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Uh-huh.
You have a show, sir.
I do.
Just say I have a show and I'd love to have some of your music, but you could try it.
I could.
Hey, Velvet Blue, send us some new music. We will listen to it and we will talk about it on the show.
Right.
We're a throwback show, so I
Yeah.
would prefer vinyl, please.
That's right. And we'll disparage whatever airline you don't like.
Yeah.
Gladly.
That should be our new sponsorship pitch. We
Seriously.
will, instead of like just promoting you, who do you want us to insult? We're available for hire
That's right.
to take down any competitor just a peg. All we need is an iPhone.
One thing that was cool about the Indianapolis weekend that I said that I lived out of a van for 3 days,
Yeah.
which was true. But also, I do have to mention that my friends from the band I was in, I used to say my band, and I try not to say that because we were all in the band. I wrote the songs and I sang, but 76, the band from 2005, 2007, my guitarist and bassist friends from that band, we all saw the Elms together back in the day at that youth conference before we were in a band. But they were inspiring to us, I think, in terms of creating rock and roll. And so Jordan and Miles ended up flying out to Indianapolis, and I think they were in Indianapolis less time than it took to get to and from. Like they were just, they were on planes a lot.
Right.
But my buddy bought the tickets before he knew if he could go or not. As it was apparently as it happened, there was his mom's wedding was the night before, and the reason that they could come is that they were going to have it that Saturday night, but then it ended up being that the venue for the wedding wasn't available Saturday night, so the wedding had to be Friday. So they go to his mom's wedding, and then they get on a plane at like 5 in the morning the next day and fly out to Indy. And I pick them up. We go see the show, and then I took them back to the airport, and they went home almost like 5 in the morning there or something. So
Wow.
with time zones, that's almost no time at all. Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
intense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
But it
Dick
was really
brought 'em.
cool to see it with them, and they were yes, it was Dick brought us ride service, definitely. Um, so we got a hotel room that we ended up sharing for I don't know, like 5 hours or something, or less, and and that was it.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
but I also spent more time in the van than I spent in the hotel room, I think. Did get a shower out of the deal.
That's a
Um,
win.
Yeah, but it was cool too because Jordan, the guitarist, he was definitely very inspired by Tom's playing. Very much kind of I think they played in similar styles, and Jordan was
Mhm.
inspired by Tom's playing, and so it was cool to see them get to meet each other too, and for Jordan to say, "Hey, you gave me everything, not maybe not everything I know, but you helped me get to where I am today, and helped us make our record and that sort of thing," and so. That was particularly cool to see also.
That is.
Yeah. Also opening acts. The first night, Frank is the name. Kind of it was this kind of, I'm trying to figure out how you would describe the sound. not quite like an industrial rock thing, but like kind of a harder edged rock lady fronted pop act.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so she goes by Frank, and then she had three mononymed band members, and they all played really well. But they rocked. They rocked pretty hard, and pretty good stuff. I think the guitarist and the drummer were both named John. But yeah, really great. And they are on the label. They're on Absorb. And so we got to meet her and talk to her. Absorb is run by Owen from the Elms. And
Okay.
yeah, so we got to meet her and say, "Hey, really good stuff." I tried as long as I could to not compare her to Pink because I really didn't want that to be the first thing I said. But after we've been talking for a minute, I was like, "So people compare you to Pink?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." But really good stuff. So that's on the Absorb label. And then the second night, I still don't know if there was actually a connection between the Elms and this band or not, but they were like a British punk band, and they're called the Molotovs. But
Okay.
they look to be about 19 years old, all of them, really
Nice.
young, but really good. Like kind of not quite pop punk, like whatever the British soccer fan equivalent of pop punk is. Like it was
Hmm.
really good. And the thing that happened during their set was there was a guy who was really excited that there was punk music happening, and he really wanted to stage dive. So he gets up on this stage. It's not a very tall stage, and the crowd was sparser. So there's like people in between, and so kind of before anybody knows what's happening, this guy in a baseball cap is up on the stage, not very tall, and then he's off the stage. He's like jumping into the crowd that's not
Oh
quite
no.
prepared to catch him.
Oh
And
no.
so he doesn't crowd surf like he wants to. He ends up falling basically down to the ground, but he also takes out one or two fans with him, like kind of knocks them over.
Of
And that
course, yeah.
that was kind of scary. I was like, is everybody going to be okay? Um, I think everything ended up being okay in the end, but it was definitely it was not what he thought would happen, and probably not what anybody else thought would happen either. So,
Right.
anyways, good job, the Molotovs. I ended up pre-ordering their vinyl record because their album's not out yet, but they were really good. Yeah, the lady who played bass, it was funny because she had like tons of eyeliner on, and like between songs, she would just kind of glare at the crowd, kind of like real scary. Except she was like wearing, soccer gear, and so try, trying to figure out exactly what they're trying to communicate. But I really appreciated what they did too. It was a good opener for night two.
Nice.
Yeah, Frank sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And she said this was her first live gig ever. Like they had done a
Oh
music
wow.
video, I think, but
Wow.
they hadn't actually done like a live show or anything. So, a couple singles over the past several years on the Absorb label.
It's a very 2025 thing. Like I've got music out, but I've never played, but I did a
Yep.
That's
video.
right. Yeah. Yep.
So
Like,
I
yeah.
have a sort of a similar stage diving story.
Do you?
I was not involved with the dive, other than
Last
I was
weekend
at
at Furnace Fest?
no, other
Oh,
than I
okay.
was at this show where this happened, and someone very excited to stage dive, like got up on stage, took a couple steps back, ran and dove, and happened to go right up and over everybody that was crowded at the front. And you know how usually there's like, you get the
Oh,
crowd
geez.
crush at the front,
Yeah.
and then there's like a
Yeah.
little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
of a gap, and then the rest of the
Uh-huh.
crowd just overshot everybody and just bang
Mm,
right onto the ground, not even touching anybody.
yikes. Is this paved ground?
It was inside of a club, so
Okay, so hard floor.
yep.
Yikes.
I think the alcohol coursing through his veins helped cushion the blow a little bit.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Made him more
That
resilient.
yep.
Yeah. It's a
so
shock
It was
absorber.
from all accounts, didn't get too hurt. Like didn't go
no.
away in an ambulance or anything. So it's okay to laugh.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
didn't
It was
feel the
very
pain
funny.
till
Just
he was sober, so he was
right.
good.
Right. Right.
Next morning, what happened?
Man, it feels like I jumped off a stage or something.
Yeah. It's like I smashed into concrete.
Just everybody just like watching, just like, oh, and down he goes.
Conditions got to be right. It's like little people, little tiny people that just jump with no fear because they're like, it's like some little girl who's like 90 pounds. She's like, yeah, they'll
Yeah.
catch me. Just
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
flying squirrel out of the thing. And you're like, easy there, killer. Like,
Yeah.
just because you're tiny doesn't mean there's a place for you to land. Could be the
Right.
floor. Yeah,
You're tiny. You could fit in between these people.
that's right.
Because I know all 230 pounds of me are landing on something that's going to get hurt. Yeah.
Also, the reason I've never attempted it because I'm going to smush some people. It's never
You
good.
know your lane.
There's bases and there's flyers in certain contexts. And I am not a flyer.
That you could change that this year. The shed would be the place to do it.
Unless they don't catch you and then you hit that concrete on your head. I've seen that happen a bunch.
Yep.
That's true. And nobody wants that.
Just point. Like
You should be like, I'm going to jump right there. You catch me. And then you smush them right in their face.
Yep.
That's how it works.
It is interesting because you have to have a lot of communication with the crowd. And it all
Yeah.
has to be nonverbal because nobody can hear you.
There has to be a density to the crowd. Like,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
can't
for
just
sure.
be a willingness too. Like, you've got to have a stable,
Like, hey, you three people over there, I'm jumping on you.
exactly. You need a tight enough pack to jump on top of that the whole collective will support itself and you. And not everyone gets that.
Right. And don't be the dick who jumps feet first.
Right.
You jump feet
Correct.
first, I'm moving out of the way.
Because feet hurt.
Gonna
Yep.
let you go. That's right.
And I mean, ideally jump and turn so that you land on your back.
Correct.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
Bringing that back.
That's right. We'll take turns with that.
Yeah.
So you hung out with some people though too, Brock.
Absolutely. Yeah. The day before the first show, I drove up to, where is it? The town where Phil Madeira went to college, believe it or not.
What college did you go to?
Taylor College or Taylor University, I
Oh.
guess, in Indiana.
You know about well, maybe not. Did you know about Taylor's Silent Night tradition and basketball games?
I don't. What's the tradition?
So I'll find a link on YouTube and send it to you guys. But I don't know if it's just a specific game or all home games or what. Maybe it's in December. But they have this tradition where everybody stands up and nobody makes any noise from the start of the game until Taylor scores their first basket. And then when they score their first basket, it's just pure bedlam and everyone throws toilet paper onto the court, like rolls. like rolls like
So everybody-
streamers. So it's this, and it's called Silent Night. So it goes from like there's a basketball game, and all you can hear is like the ball bouncing and the squeaking of shoes in a gym, and it's like really it's weird. And so if they don't score for several minutes, like there could be like 4 minutes of gameplay with just like no audience sounds, and then they score and the place goes bonkers. And
That's hilarious.
They throw toilet paper, rush the court. They have to stop. They get a technical. Like it's a whole thing. They got to stop the game, clear the court, and begin again. But yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, it's their infamy in the sports world.
Yeah. So I drove up there. Gas City is right next door, and Gas City is where I met. They have, by the way, on their town's water tower, the town name in Comic Sans, which I don't approve of, but you can't win them all. But just over in that town, there's a Starbucks. So I met up with Jim Davis, who, if you've been on the CCM 90s recovery group, he's the guy with the CD collection that's as big as my vinyl collection. So he and I have gone back and forth over the internet about our collections, whatnot. But he was always like, "Hey, have you ever heard Bloomsday?" And I had never heard Bloomsday.
Oh yeah,
And he was like, "You've got to hear Bloomsday." So
Yeah.
he brought his convertible, and we got in, and he had put in his 6 CD changer. Bloomsday was one of them. So we listened to
That's
that while
awesome.
we drove around the area. I got a little personal tour. We stopped and did some record shopping. I think I sent you guys a picture of me with a Twyla Paris record. Found some good stuff just in this antique mall / flea market. I'm not sure what the line is between those two, but it was somewhere in between those two. We got some lunch at what's it called? Ivanhoe's Drive-In, which is right in the town with Taylor. And the breaded tenderloin sandwich is one of the hallmarks of Indiana. And so
Right.
we split one of those. and they make a good sandwich. It tasted great. I'd never had one before. I enjoyed it. It had a nice I don't know, nice savory spice or whatever. Like it tasted, tasted good. And they also had however many, like 200 different flavors of sundaes and 200 different flavors of milkshakes.
Jeez.
And so you could choose whatever you want. And Jim said that the great part about this is that this restaurant sources their ice cream not because they have affinity to a certain brand, but they source ice cream based on which brand makes the best version of that flavor. So they're brand agnostic. They just they get the best flavor. So if like you like cookies and cream, they're like, well, we know who to get cookies and cream from, and that's what they do. So
Weird. Wow, that's
I
crazy.
want to go there.
yeah, yeah. And so Jim Davis, same name as Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, who is from like Muncie, Indiana, I think. So there's a Garfield trail with a bunch of different fiberglass Garfield statues throughout the different towns in the area. So he has met the actual Jim Davis, and he has crafted his signature to look like Jim Davis, the one that we all know. And so we got our picture with the Garfield statue that's there at Ivanhoe's Drive-In. It was pretty great.
That's cool.
Nice.
So yeah, I mentioned having dinner with Dan, mentioned my guys from the band that flew in. I got to see a number of other folks while I was out there. A couple of folks in Denver where I had at one point a 24-hour layover. So thanks to Corey, who gave me a place to sleep and drove me around when it was unseasonably rainy in Denver. It's not usually drizzly rainy like it is in Oregon in Denver, but it was that day. So glad I could be indoors. But on a different rainy day, the day after show number 2, I think it was Monday, I had heard that Ronnie Martin from Joy Electric had moved to Bloomington, Indiana, which is just south and west of Indianapolis. I had a van. I slept at a rest area that was next door to his town, and so I had reached out to him and said, "Hey, big fan of Joy Electric. I know it's not your primary gig these days, but if you want to get together and talk about Joy Electric, I'd be happy to buy you a cup of coffee and shake your hand." And Ronnie Martin, stand-up gentleman. We're actually going to talk to him in a couple months, right? We're going to talk to him about Christmas in the Christmas season because he loves Christmas. He's nuts for it. But he was super amenable. He's just, I think maybe for people who've been involved in music, one of the more approachable guys. And I met him. He came in having a good time, came in being super friendly, super into it. We talked for about almost 2 hours. I had found a copy of Robot Rock from Joy Electric on cassette, which I brought to him as thanks. I know he likes cassettes because he's been having them made for his stuff. As you know, I can talk at length about music I like, and he let me do it. We talked a little bit about some various things about the past, various things about projects he's been involved in and will be involved in soon. He's got a Christmas record coming out this year, which is cool. And anyways, super cool guy. So he's even better looking than he looks in the pictures in person.
It's impressive because the pictures are pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always like the Joy Electric Christmas stuff.
Totally. That is his lane. That's what he's good at.
Yeah. And that's coming from someone who despises Christmas music.
Keep that to yourself on the podcast.
Well, what it has to be vintage. It has to be performed on vintage synth.
Yeah.
Yes. Or August Burns Red. Their Christmas stuff is fantastic.
That's right. With the peppermint vinyl.
Peppermint CD. What was the CD like there, Kevin?
I don't know. It's in the other room.
Klank's here, by the way.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right.
So that concludes my Joy Electric story. That was just a lot of fun. I was really grateful for that.
Yeah, we're very jealous. Our podcast interview sounds too formal. Our podcast conversation will have to be our consolation prize.
Yep.
Yo.
Hey, can you hear me and see me?
Absolutely.
We can.
And yes to both.
There's fashionably late and then there's me. And I'm so sorry, guys.
Oh, no, it's totally fine.
It gave us time to podcast.
There you go. Sorry about that. It's been kind of hectic here between work and stuff. And I got a new dog yesterday. My dog had passed close to a year and a half ago. And I had her for over 16 years. So she was, my buddy. my registered emotional support animal came to me to work and stuff every day. And it's been hard, so I go to the shelter every weekend, but I haven't been looking. Like I've been looking, but not, you know what I'm saying? I figured when the time was right, I'd find the right thing. And Friday, the planets just kind of lined up the proper way and did paperwork and stuff over the weekend. And then yesterday I brought her home, and she's supposed to be between 1 and 2, but I think she's more like 10 years old because 10 months old because the zoomies and the puppy energy that was going on. She was barrel rolling on my friggin' couch last night. It's like, so I came in and it was like, she started doing the tail up, which was like, okay, either she's going to pee or poo. I'm like, got to get her outside. And I come back just in time to see my cat puking up his dinner. It's in the bedroom. So it was just like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is just my day. And then when I realized what time it was, I was like, oh, dude.
Oh, no, it's totally fine.
All good.
Yeah, like I said, we're just hanging out, and I've told plenty of stories about, my my old cat, and so yeah, we adopted him. They told us he was 2. We went to get him chipped, and they're like, "Oh, he's already got a chip. He's actually 4. Is that a problem?" And I said, "No, that's not a problem. That's fine."
Yeah.
Well, I just found out within the last year, he was not 4. He was actually 7.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because when I moved, I forgot to change the address on the chip, and then so I went to change the address, and they're like, "This pet isn't registered to you," and I'm like, "What?" So the shelter had never changed over the ownership, so they had to try and get a hold of the previous owner who had abandoned them, and then once they finally released it, so I could claim him on the chip, I log in and it had his actual birth date on there.
That's crazy.
I was like, wait a minute. Yeah.
So, man, it's funny too, because I just got her license yesterday. I have to set up the account because here in Santa Cruz County, it's funny. It's all about money. Your dog's got to be licensed, but not your cats. I'm like, I don't know what that's about. And they're like, oh, just got to set up your profile. It's got a SKU. It's got a scan code. It'll have all your stuff. And I was like, great. I'll just. Because I'm neurotic when it comes to pet pictures, like my dog and stuff, usually with like social media and stuff. So I'm going to have to be conscientious before I post something that the SKU isn't showing, that shows my address, my phone number, my vet.
All the information.
Yeah, like, I hate to think like that, but, lots of creepers. And I already had a stalker in the past that tried to kidnap my old dog and stole my car. So.
Whoa.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah. I don't know how familiar you are with our music, but on the Urban Warfare album, there's a song called Eraser, and it's about my stalker. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
I was gonna say, how much of this can we discuss in public? It probably a limited amount.
I know. I let everything fly. Yeah. He was basically told if he ever showed up around here again, I didn't need to worry about a red dot between his eyes because there wouldn't be anything left of him to unalive, let's just say. I was like, dude, that's my dog. I cared more about the dog than my car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My buddy was my dog's name was Elliot. My buddy was dog sitting for me one day when I was at work. And he says, hey, homeboy's over here. He was a former friend I was trying to help out. He's over here, and he said, you said he could take Ellie. And I'm like, nah. And he goes, are you sure? And he goes, he's about to put her in the car. I said, no, get my dog back. He's been kind of, he signed a lease with me after a whole convoluted story. After I left working for Ringling Brothers for 8 years, traveling the country with them. And he was a worker there. Felt bad for him. He had gotten in trouble, tried to get him on the straight path, help him out, teach him how to spin wrenches and do something, and that's how he repaid me. He just got mental, and then come to find out he was telling people that he loved me when we worked there, and I had no clue. I mean,
sure.
So and I was just like, so I signed a lease for an apartment to help, a 2-bedroom apartment, help the guy out, and then not even a month into it, steals my car, tries to steal the dog, and then bails. And I didn't even make enough per month to cover. I didn't make enough gross to cover the rent, much less after Uncle Slam takes his cut.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. So Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't even get like the like romantic beginning or whatever. It's not that's quite the situation.
The funny thing is, I had a lot of friends at Ringling Brothers, and that's where I met my now ex-wife. And she told me later, she goes, "Oh yeah, the running joke was he loved you more than I did." I'm like, "Why didn't anybody tell me this?" They said, "Oh, because we thought it was freaking hysterical." I'm like, "That's not hysterical."
Would have been helpful information a lot
earlier. Right. Loop me in.
Yeah, I know. It was like the guy, and then it was one of those like, I'm like, wow, all of a sudden I saw him, like when what was it? How I Met Your Mother, where that TV show where they're talking and they says, when somebody does something and they're going, "What are you talking about?" And then they call it the broken glass moment where they hear it and see it and then they can't unsee it. And I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, all of a sudden I was like the blinders came up. I'm like, this dude's a freaking nut job. I'm like, man, I gotta, I was like, I gotta set this straight. And I basically was like, you need to chill out. You're too aggro. You got whatever you have going on. I felt like Ross, guys, we need to bring it down here, and then the next day he ransacked the room that we had just signed a lease in 3 weeks earlier and stole the car and tried to get the dog. Speaking of dogs, there she is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But nice to actually hang out with you guys. Sorry to come in like a bulldozer.
Same.
Oh, no, that's fine.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
No, this is the best way.
For me, I think I first learned about you when I was at the Christian bookstore down the street from my high school and picked up a Circle of Dust album.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And then was hanging out with a couple friends like a year or two later, and they're huge like Nine Inch Nails fans. And I happened to go back into that store because it was walking distance from the school. And my mom was a teacher, so I would just, walk over there, listen to music, wait for her to finish up with meetings and stuff. And ended up picking up the first album, the first Klank album. And
Still Suffering, nice.
Yeah, so I was hooked on that one, and then brought it back over to my friend's house, and then they got hooked on that one too. So and then
awesome.
From there kind of branched out, like, oh well, what else happened, out of Circle of Dust, and then Cell Dweller and like getting hooked on all that, and then Argyle Park, man,
all the offshoots.
Exactly. And like the best part, like with Argyle Park, was just like all those other bands that were involved in that project, and it's like, oh, like the ones I hadn't heard of before, like, oh, cool, something else to go check out. But then you got Mark Solomon on there, so I was like, this is fantastic.
Dude, I always say that was, for me, it was a golden age of industrial music and just music in general, because for $10 to $12, sometimes less, you could see 5 killer bands coming through on a tour. You didn't mind driving 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours for a show. All these releases kept coming out, and it was just like, this is great, this is great, this is great. It was like so great, and then it just kind of seems like musical lemmings kind of jumped off the cliff at one point, and then it all changed, and it was like, oh, I hate to sound like that guy, but the glory days of back in the old days, Yeah.
Do you remember the old comparison charts where they were like, if you like Nine Inch Nails,
RIYL recommended if you like.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know what the comparisons were for you? Because ordinarily our buddy Pete would be on here and he has a chart that he'll pull all that stuff from, but we don't know. I'm guessing that you've seen one or two.
It used to say Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, and Marilyn Manson.
Okay, right. That was kind of what I was guessing. I figured Manson would make an appearance there and that sort of thing. But
the Ministry, yes. The Nine Inch Nails, yes. Marilyn Manson, maybe in the beginning it was a little, but still, But some of that stuff was funny. They're like, if you love Metallica, you'll love Deliverance. Or there was like, I remember we were playing in Memphis, and they're like, the Christian Trent Reznor is coming to town, and I'm like, no, stop that.
I would imagine that it had to make it difficult because you're trying to kind of make your own art in a way, right? Like it's adjacent, and you probably respect and like some of those artists. But also
I got nothing against them, but it was just like, when you do something like that, and then parents, because I was one of those kids that grew up in a insanely neurotic, born-again Christian household where if it wasn't Christian music, it wasn't in the house.
Right, so
wasn't
you
allowed.
have to have Christian Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, so I would go to visit my cousin Lance with like a Amy Grant album, and I'd come home with Sabbath and Dio in it, or Crimson Glory, Dokken and stuff. So, but yeah, and some of that stuff though was like, and I'm like, there was kids that would come and say, I wanted to see you last time you were in town, but my mom said, you guys were too evil, or the album cover was dark, or this was dark. Oh man, hang on one second. The puppy's going crazy. Hey, what are you doing? Come here. Come on. Yeah, it was funny because I was one of those kids. Like I said, I could, if it wasn't Christian music, it wasn't allowed in the house. You had to have really good headphones. And back then it was those giant ones with the big curly wire that was
studio
like
cans.
long.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that was how, that was my escape from reality. But then it was like, you had these kids coming and they were like, or I was going to say one festival, a couple of shows in particular, we had kids that show up that said, hey, I bought like your merchandise. I bought one of every shirt and this and that. And my mom said, you don't say Jesus on your album, so I have to return it. Can I get my money back? And I was like, it doesn't work like that, and
return policy is you get crowns in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what you get? You get the taillight guarantee. When I can't see the taillights anymore, you guarantee it's void. Adios. No, it was just like, like I said, being one of those guys, it was kind of sad because I was like, man, I was you. Like, you're 14. I remember me at that age, and it had to be, and it had to be Christian albums. And then when I bring in Christian albums, my father would be like, they all look too much like women. This can't be Christian. Look at them. They look like chicks, but with hairy chests. And it was just like, Yeah. So, but we kind of crazy. We've had people actually show up at one of our Cornerstone. Cornerstone press events. I think it was just when Still Suffering had came out. And this person had bought, I don't know, probably like $400 worth of stuff, had this big stack of stuff. And it was funny because I felt like we were in the middle of a firing squad. We were sitting at the table. I had the guys from EDL with me and some other friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the tent was just packed. I'm like, I'd never seen the press tent like this. And it was like they might as well have just blindfolded me and handed me a cigarette and tied my hands behind my back in front of the firing squad, because it was like boom, 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 one thing after another. They were like, you can't be Christian. You look like this. You can't be Christian. Your album is very aggressive. You can't be Christian because you don't say God. You can't be. And it was just like, dude, why do you have to put something in a box? I'm like, our music is like a page out of a diary or a journal set to music. We always considered it sonic therapy. I'm like, if you get something out of it, you were meant to get that. And if you didn't, that just means that maybe you were just I don't want to say casual listener, but like when you just listen to something, you're like, yeah, this is cool. But then you listen to something and then you're like both feet deep, every word, every beat, everything. You're like, you dissect it, you lobotomize it, and you see, oh my God, this fits my life. It's what this person is saying is like looking in my head with a flashlight, saying all these things that I feel and I want to say, but I just don't know how to say it, or I can't say it. And for me, it was like crazy because here we are, you're just trying to be a band. You're trying to write music that you think sounds cool and you think other people will like it. And all of a sudden it's, that's one of the things you have to understand when you're an artist of any kind, whether it's music, painting, poetry, any kind of arts. You put yourself out there, you're chum for scrutiny, somebody, anybody. Hey, knock it off. Puppy energy. Yeah, so it's kind of frustrating because it's like you put your heart and soul into something just for the trolls these days. I mean, we didn't have trolls back in the day. You had hecklers and people that were annoying, but they didn't say too much because it was very easy to cave their face in or break a couple of teeth if they got on your nerves. Because men are men. You have a problem with somebody, you argue, you piss and moan. You might not throw a couple of punches, then you give a hug, and it's over with. But now it's like these keyboard commandos. Everybody's hiding behind their keyboards, and they say the most vicious and vile things. And you're like, man, we put our heart and soul for months and months and months and months into something just for you to basically piss on it. And, but some people that's their life. They're miserable, so they have to make other people feel as miserable as them. And, so all your hard work, you put like your podcast, you're proud of what you do. You have guests, you do your thing. And then, these guys suck. whatever their beef is. And you're just like, man, I get it. You're out there, so you're going to say something and, you're fodder for everybody. But it's just kind of annoying. You're like, man, I wish people would just take a step back, look through the microscope a little bit better to see what there's. Hey, come over here. Sorry, guys.
It's
He
all
got
good.
past the barrier to my cat. Hey, come on. She, come on. Oh, yeah. See, this is why I said my life is nuts.
And you worked for the circus.
I did. I worked for Ringling Brothers for 8 years.
You're used to this sort of thing.
I am, and it's crazy to say I worked for the circus for 8 years, and now I work for my church.
Yeah.
Because it's like my church owns 2 apartment buildings next door.
Okay.
Interesting. And I'm the on-site manager for the apartment. So
there we go.
I'm the guy who's on call 24/7. Yeah. So life is definitely weird because I was the transportation manager, show welder, and show fabricator for 8 years for Ringling Brothers, and I traveled on the world's largest privately owned coach. It was a train. It was just over a mile and a quarter with the stocks, the animals, the sleeper cars, everything. And I was on call 24/7. So that was a crazy life. And then, I decided to leave that. I came to California for a bit, and I was driving auto parts and stuff. And then I was working on a cannabis farm for a while. And I did a lot of different things. And then
similar maintenance needs there, I would think. There's machines that break down, machines that need to be fixed, that sort of thing.
Yes. And I started out, it was funny because my now ex-wife was the bakery manager. So she was making all the edibles and I was the delivery driver. And then they're like, man, we need somebody really badly on the farm. And the foreman guy was like, oh, let me take Klank with me because, he's good. He's knowledgeable. And then it's funny because I was really good at it. And at that point, dude, it was like I had smoked weed every day for like 30 years, but the boss was completely neurotic. And you got to think, how horrible do you have to be to ruin cannabis for somebody? Most people smoke to relax and chill. This guy was so high strung. This guy would smoke like 20, 30 joints a day. And he would be like a raving lunatic. And I was like,
he needed more.
You ruined cannabis for me. It was like I couldn't even. It was like for the years I was like I couldn't even look at it. I was like I just thought of this boss, and I was like I'd rather swing from a rope, But yeah, and then as fate had it, I did a small short stint in Texas because I got a really sweet job, like a silver platter job that was offered to me. So my wife and I and the dog and the cat moved down there, and within 3 weeks, my entire life imploded. With adultery and all that kind of stuff, not on my end. Yeah. So I was basically the guy who got to stand there with my dog and my sick cat that had to be put down 3 months later as I watched my wife leave with the Mastiff and all the other stuff. And it was just like, and as fate had it, because we had just started going back to church before we left California for Texas. My pastor was really cool. He'd video chat with me all the time, talk me off the ledge, proverbially. Yeah. And he was great. He's basically therapy. How you doing? He was always checking up on me. And I was like, man, things are horrible here. I'm like, I know the boss and I know the coworker, but I'm like, I don't really know anybody else in Texas. Mm-hmm. I had a sweet gig. I had a 3-bedroom house with a carport. I ended up making a little studio. Because my buddy Pat from Klank was sending me videos on how to do stuff because he's the engineer. I'm like, I'm horrible. Like I could barely turn on an amp. I'm so technologically insufficient, but he was like my lifeline. So I set up a studio. He gave me a computer. We had all the stuff going. And then I was there just under 2 years. And then the pastor was like, hey, the on-site manager and his wife are retiring, and I know you really, really, really want to come back to California. This would be how we could facilitate it. We don't really have a lot of money to pay you, but you get a free 2-bedroom apartment. You get no utilities, and because he knew I was keto, and he said, I know you got some weird dietary thing you do where you don't eat this and you don't eat that. He goes, but we have a pantry and we have food donations. You'll never go hungry. So I said, you know what? I used to feed the homeless every Saturday with them before I moved out of California, and I really liked it. So I was like, you know what? I'm like, I want to go back to California. So as fate had it, I sold a bunch of stuff, canceled the lease. My pastor flew out to Dallas And the night before, I basically loaded a trailer. I had a trailer hitch put on my Rogue, my Nissan. So I had a 4x8. I basically put the contents of a 3-bedroom house in a 4x8 trailer and had my dog and cat, picked him up at the airport, and then we proceeded to drive 32 hours here. 4 hours into it, the AC broke and it was 105 degrees the rest of the entire way. Oh, dude, yeah. Just wait till I write my book. People's heads are going to spin off their shoulders, dude. It was like my dog Ellie had heat exhaustion. She was foaming at the mouth. Her eyes were glazed and she fell over. And I thought she was dead. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like spiraling. I'm like, I lost my wife. She took the dog. She took the 2 healthy cats. She left me with the sick cat. Now my dog is going to die. And it was just like, dude, it was insane. And pulled over, kind of nursed her back to health with bottles of water that was boiling hot at that point. I was putting them on towels and putting it on her, and then came out here, finally made it. And then that was in July of 2019. So I went from this crazy, crazy, crazy life of just, relocating for this job and having everything, literally my entire life burned down around me. And then coming back to my church, and it was like, like when you were a kid, when you played like, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, or you were like, safe, I'm on base. Yep. That's what it felt like coming back here. It was like, wow, man. I'm like, okay, I don't really have a huge place, but I don't need a huge place. All my needs are met. And, I kind of found my niche here, and my church relies on me. I'm a board member. I'm, like I said, on-site guy. I maintain the 2 buildings here. I maintain the church. I run the food donations Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Saturday we go and feed our community. We've been doing that now for like 14 years. That's awesome. But it's like, I have all through COVID, it was like they were telling people, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And the grocery store that we get the food donations from was like, well, I know you only pick up, at that point it was Friday and Saturday. They said, well, nobody's coming anymore. I don't even understand how your guys are coming. And we said, well, they said you got to keep a distance. So normally we used to make the food, prepare everything, and do like chow line style. Everybody would get a tray. We'd set up tables every week. And then we said, okay, what if we do this? What if we prepare everything in the church? Because we have a full-size industrial kitchen. Put it in like styrofoam clamshells. Keep everybody 6 feet apart from each other. Hey, you walk up to the van, you get your clamshell, you walk 6 feet over to me. I hand you a brown bag with bottled water, brand new socks, utensils, Kind bars, granola bars, yogurts, applesauce, whatever we got. So we were the only ones in the area that was still feeding people. And they were like, dude, and we also have a shower trailer set up. So you come in, you sign your name, and you get a shower. So all these people were like, dude, we don't get any other food. All the other avenues we had all week, nobody's showing up but you guys. Why is that? And we said, I don't know. People suck. It was like, and these guys would be like, dude, you don't understand. This is the only hot meal I get all week. And this is the only shower I get. And to this day, thank God, we never missed a beat. We stayed in compliance, but, nobody went hungry. And the crazy thing is, the craziest part was in the height of the pandemic, I was going 6 days a week to pick up food donations. The only days I wasn't going was Sunday. It was to the point where I was handing out $250 to $300 of sushi a day to people. I was going down to Tent City to the homeless, giving them about like chicken wraps and meatball and spaghetti subs and whatever we were getting, because Whole Foods is who we got our donations from. So I had people lining up at the church and coming in like in pairs. It was such a weird, bizarre time. And then as, things opened up and stuff and things got normal, it was like, okay, now it's back to we're only doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but we're feeding so many people now. Like I text the tenants every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Good morning. Today we got fresh fruit. We got this, we got that. Be at the church kitchen door at 10:30. So they all come down, they come in, and it's like tenant and church morale relationship is at an all-time high because everybody's been struggling. When they were talking about egg shortages, I was getting 80, 90, 100 dozen a week that I was just turning around and handing to the tenants. And we have a lady from a senior center that comes, and she brings stuff, and what's left from her senior center, they take to the field workers in Watsonville. So literally nothing is hitting the dumpsters these days, unless it's like out of date or moldy. So it's funny because we have this thing streamlined now where it's like finely oiled machine, man. So
I love that. That's fantastic.
And that's great.
It seems like you're really doing the work, It seems like that's what it's all about. And if you just said Jesus more on your records, maybe everything would be perfect.
maybe I might get a space on that escalator to the sky, But it's funny because when I was
it's really
in Texas,
encouraging. Yeah, no.
When I was in Texas, I missed it that Saturday, and I was like, man, I never thought I was going to miss hanging out in the kitchen with the guys, the pastor, and everybody. And those guys are like my best friends, and I knew them before I left for Texas, but when I came back, it was different because now I was full-time employed by the church. I was so hands-on and doing things, and like those guys are great. And it's like I could never picture myself not doing what I do. Like I've had COVID 3 times, and every time I got it, I started feeling crappy on a Friday night, and then I woke up on Saturday morning like I stuck like a wood plane down my throat, like dying a slow death. I can't come in, So it was like in Texas, I was in a beard club, and we would go out and clean the highway and do stuff, and that was cool, but it wasn't the same. I wasn't getting the same, I don't want to call it satisfaction, but joy, the fulfillment of it. This is like, you're helping people, you see them, and dude, some of these guys, they literally crawl out from under a bush. They're cruising at an altitude of like 20, 30,000 feet mentally when they show up to you. Some of them are, all tweaked out and drunk or whatever, but we don't judge anybody. We're here to feed you. It's not even like those things where they go, oh, well, you got to sit and hear a sermon first. No, we're not like that. There's no strings attached. You hungry, you come, you eat. Nobody goes hungry or without food on our watch. And it's just so fulfilling to be at this point now where it's snowballed into only getting originally only on Saturdays, and now Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then specifically feeding the homeless in the community on Saturdays. And it turned into this whole juggernaut where we have locals coming. We have people that drive from 2 hours away every other week to pick up stuff to bring to their people. And it's nuts, and it's funny because I'm just some schmo with a beard and long hair. Most people, they see me coming and they want to cross the street because they think I'm going to jack them. They wouldn't even know that it's like, and it's not like I'm blowing smoke up my own rear end or anything, but it's like, it's that whole saying, you never know who's standing next to you in church, in public. Right. You see somebody that might look a little rough around the edges, but they could be a nice guy. Or it could be the guy that you sit next to in church who wants to steal your pocketbook. You never know.
Right. Could be.
It's perception is everything, and you can't, it's so cliche to say don't judge a book by its cover, but it's so true. It's good to be in the spot where I'm at because after all these years and having such a crazy, chaotic life between traveling with the circus and all the trappings of a music lifestyle and all that nonsense, it's like to find peace and be like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I work for my church. Most people go, you? And I go, yeah. And they're like, but I'm like, but it's good because it's you feel like you've done something. You feel like you've accomplished something, and it feels good for the soul to actually, to know that people look forward to seeing you on a weekend, and and you're actually making a difference in their life as opposed to just walking past someone and being like, dirtbag, bum, whatever, because everybody has that vibe at some point. But when you start to actually know these people and help them and talk to them and really get to know them and see how they ended up where they ended up, or are they there by choice? There's people that are like, architectural engineers that come and teachers and all these kind of stuff that they've been basically on the streets or living in a car or living in a busted down RV that doesn't even work anymore. And it's like, it's kind of crazy because you come to realize, man, my life might not be the best in the world, but I've got it so much better than some other people that they're so struggling, It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I'm curious, just given this is going to sound like the setup for a joke question, and it's not. If it's funny, that's great. But I'm just curious because you know a lot about mechanical things, and you spend a lot of your time working on stuff. You make industrial metal, industrial rock. Is there any connection between? Do you think? Can you find is there a reason that might be the case?
I don't know, but I gotta say how much fun it is working with power tools and being like, oh my God, I got to sample that grinder. Oh my goodness. Listen to that sound the flagpole makes when the thing hits it and it goes, poing, poing,
Yeah.
poing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like calling Pat, let me grab your DAT player. Or I've got like my little handheld thingy and we're walking around to construction sites. Well, you know what's weird is Clay from Circle of Dust and Cell Dweller was the first one who actually, before I was playing with him, he was the one that had turned me on because he used to work at a bookstore also. He was the music buyer. That dude had his ear to the ground because we were in New York. He'd have, stapled fanzines that were Xeroxed, like that were like, 10 pages or whatever. And it was like, you want a demo by this guy? Send $4, including postage. Get this 4-track demo and blah, blah, blah. And one day he goes, I got to show you this band. I'm like, what is this? He goes, they're called Ministry. Check these dudes out. And then he plays me Thieves. And it was just like, my whole life was just like, I was like, oh my God, you can do so much more with just music. And then he was like, when Nine Inch Nails came out, he goes, dude, you got to hear this band. He goes, they're totally blasphemous, but like musically, sonically, it's just absurd. He's like,
just
this
be ready,
work.
brace yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it shouldn't work. And you had the old industrial stuff, Nitzer Ebb, Front 242, Einster, Zindy, Farfig Nugan, and all those dudes. But it was different for me because it was literally like the eyelids were peeled back, and I was like, wait a minute. You could take like thrash beats and put 808s and subs and loops behind it. You could put old school analog keyboards behind thrash guitars with noises that sound like zzz, zzz, like you're drilling a hole. And I was like, my mind was just like, I'm like, does not compute. Because all of a sudden, like, the music just took on a whole different vibe because it was like musically, it was like this. Musically, the sky was the limit now. It was like, man, I'm like, there's no holds barred. You didn't have to just be drums, bass, guitars, and vocals. You could have this whole soundscape of stuff that was intertwined and noises and swooshes and all this kind of stuff. And then, when you're brilliant like Pat, like my buddy from Klank, Pat Savidio, he's got that like, he's a tech guy. He used to run the IT department at a college. He sees things in code like the Matrix. So when I talk to him and I'll say, because we've been doing this 30-something years at this point together, I'll say, oh dude, here's an idea I came up with, and I'm hearing this, and I'll mimic this thing, or I'll send him a voice.
Kind of that vocal drum shorthand that everybody uses in a band, yeah.
And then he'll be at work on his laptop, and all of a sudden, like, I'll get this text message, yo, what up? Incoming, and I just say MP3, and he goes, yeah, that thing you did with your mouth, I came up with this at lunch. I put this behind it. I did this, and I'm just like, oh my God. And then when I get it, I'm hearing guitars. I'm hearing maybe some synths and some noises. I'm like, oh dude, what if you put some noises like this on it? And it will just send stuff back and forth. And it's crazy how you can just have 2 or 3 chords and a bass beat. I'm like, obviously this is not going to be what it is, but I'm hearing something approximately this tempo with a drivey. And then next thing you know, like 4 or 5 text messages back and forth, like 98% of the song structure is done. And sometimes with melodies and lyrics, and you're just like, and that's what drew me into this kind of music, because like I said, the sky was the limit. There was no more caps on anything. You could, look, you listen to Pink Floyd, there was, whatever they said, 97 tracks on that. And that wasn't an industrial album. That was this crazy sonic soundscape. And now with industrial music, you can just have infinite tracks of everything. And it's like, it's so mind boggling, because now it's like in a working relationship like Pat and I, like when we work on something, it's like because we've been doing it for so many years now, you can anticipate. Like when he sends me something, I can kind of anticipate what he's going to do next, or, we feed off each other. He sends me something, I tweak a little bit, put my thing on it, send it back. And I'm like, he's probably going to do something like this or this. And 9 times out of 10, we're spot on with what each other's going to do. And then it just weird snowball. And then when we do get together on a Friday, because he lives like 35 miles from me in San Jose, when I go to his place, we'll start pulling up some of the stuff, and the magic of sitting together with something that just started with boots and pants and boots and pants and
beatboxing,
boots and
yeah.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it went from that to the 6-minute opus with all this stuff. And sometimes you just sit back and you go, dude, how did this even happen? But that's the joy of music in general, and also this style, is because, like I said, there is no limit. The sky is just as much as you want to put in or not put in. And and look at how many people, back in the day, industrial music was alternative. Remember, like MTV had Alternative Nation? You didn't hear 9 Inch Nails or anything that had loops in it. Now, every band, they call it electro rock, electronic rock. Yeah. Everybody's got programming. I'm hearing
the mainstream.
Nobody ever talked about playing to a click before. Our drummer's been doing it for 30-something years, and now you got guys that are like, oh yeah, I had to learn how to play to a click because I have this thing that plays these weird beats behind me now. And it's like, it's just so weird how something that was so off to the side became so kind of mainstream. Look, you had songs like Closer. Closer didn't even have a guitar. It was all keyboards and synths.
I never thought about that. You're absolutely
dropping
right.
F-bombs. And meanwhile, and here it is, #1 on terrestrial radio all over the place. And you're just like, my, how the times have changed from hearing Elvis on AM, It's so bizarre. Crazy.
Totally. Do you find that the remote collaboration thing works well for you?
What's funny is Pat and I, just before I moved to Texas, he had said, hey, I found a way that we can work remotely, because we were, just before I got this job offer to move to Texas, we were going through hard drives, and we were on this creative streak, and we were just bam, 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 just record, save it, put it on the hard drive, catalog it, and just keep going while the fountains open, the floodgates were open. And he did all this research for months and months and months, and finally found software that would work for us. And a couple of weeks after I got settled in Texas, we did our first remote thing where I cut vocals for a guest appearance. And all I had to do was turn on my computer and click a button so he had access. And I sat in front of a microphone like this with headphones. And he was like, okay, on the interface, turn this to this, and let me do the rest. And I would hear what needed to be done. We'd do a practice track. And then I was cutting from 3,000 miles away. And then we started doing bass and guitars and all this stuff. And it was funny. It was like we were recording remotely 5 years before COVID even made it remotely fashionable. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody thought about that, because then it was like, oh, well, COVID hit. And then it was like, well, maybe you can work remotely, or maybe you can record stuff with other people and if you're not in the same room. And it was funny because we were like, we're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, but we were doing this before everybody else, and it kind of felt cool to be ahead of the curve, so to speak. But it's great though, because like, was it Friday night? Saturday night or Saturday night? Saturday night. We were doing a remote thing here. We're like, I'm sitting on my couch and we're working on a mix for an upcoming single. And it was like, hey, I altered this a little bit. What do you think? And it was great. It's great to be able to, hey, if for whatever reason I can't get to you, the production doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? We still got to do things. Yes, I'm not having the same in-person interaction, but especially if it's just, hey, tonight we're going to go over mixes. Do you have anything in mind you want to go over? Pull up the notepad and the phone. Oh, I made a note about this. And it was like, you could still be constructive. And I think it's great because look, especially when COVID happened, you had people from multiple different bands, different countries that would get together and do a song. You had Scott Ian from Anthrax. You had this guy from that band, this one from this. I mean, we did it. We had Pat and I from Klank, Brian Gray from The Blamed, and Jim Chaffin from The Blamed. We did Downside 2021, and we recorded everything not together. I mean, Pat came over to record my vocals when we recorded it, but aside from that, we were thousands of miles apart. And it was just so cool to be like, you know what? This is a way to pass the time, because everybody was stuck home.
Right.
That's why I don't know if you ever saw it. That's why I started a thing called quarantine karaoke. I go into the church gym next door because of the nice reverb. And I have about 50 different videos from during the pandemic where I would just take obscure songs, nothing heavy, because I figured, look, we're all stuck at home anyway. Why not have some fun with it? So I said, and it was too on the nose to do heavy stuff. People expect it. And
Right.
I was born in 1971. I'm a 70s guy. So I was doing like, songs by Foreigner. I'd find like the karaoke track or the original music minus the vocals. Led Zeppelin, Thank You, Billy Joel, Moving Out, Tears for Fears, Mad World, Phil Collins, just Rare Earth, all these really weird, obscure bands. I even did Changes from Ozzy, from Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yep.
I basically sit in the gym with my Bluetooth speaker, microphone, and just, it started out real crude, just watching the thing on my one phone, playing the music, watching the words go by, and then recording on a different phone. And then I started wheeling some of my actual recording gear into the gym. And that was like a game changer, because then Pat, I'd be recording stuff and I'd say, hey, Pat, I have the music for this. I really want your expertise on this song. I did like I Can't Fight This Feeling by BJ Thomas or the Beatles.
Nice.
And we even did a Blue October song. I had never even heard of Blue October, but my brother had a song he had wanted to dedicate to his wife. And it was a Blue October song called 18th Floor Balcony. And so I learned it. We did it. And that was the first time we rolled the real gear into the gym. And it was like, oh my God, why did I do all these videos with just some crappy Bluetooth? You're getting all the natural warm reverb through, several $100 microphone. And it was just like, well, hey, now I have something else fun to do, because, it can't work. For my job, it was, if anybody has an emergency, their toilet's overflowing or something, they call me. I tell them, you hang out, you unlock your door, you hang out in your bedroom. I'll go in, work on it, because that was, precautions. Don't be in the same room.
Right.
But otherwise, unless there was emergency, nobody was going anywhere. I was here. So my church is literally next door. My commute is 50 feet. I walk across the parking lot to my church, and that's it. So I would just walk over with my dog. I'd keep my gear set up and just sit on my milk crate with my pad. And it was like, okay, what song are we doing today? And that, and it was crazy, because a lot of that stuff turned out to be like with the remote stuff. It was like, after a while, I got to up the ante a bit and up the quality a bit. And then little by little, things started bouncing back. So we weren't really doing, restrictions were letting up. You lived it. Restrictions were letting up. So then you can go out more, you can do more. And then now it's pretty much like it never happened. Some might say, except for the bad memories. But aside from that, it's weird too, because I look back at some of this and I'm like, I don't even remember half the stuff I recorded in there, because it was like a blur. It's such a weird time in our history. But in the midst of all that, it was like we were doing remixes and cutting albums and EPs and stuff where people were afraid to go out of their house. And it was like, okay, if I'm going to be in my house, I still walked my dog and did my thing at the park. I'm like, if we're outdoors, I really don't think something's going to kill me if I'm the only guy walking around the track, because everyone else is afraid. So it was like, I come back here at night, we record and put out albums and singles and stuff. And it was like, this is kind of cool. I'm getting paid to not even leave my house and do music. I'm like, this is wild. I was like, is this what a real musician feels like? I'm actually getting paid to create,
I did want to ask about the new album that you've got coming out. So that's coming out on the 17th. Is that right?
The new 17th. Okay, it's a new single.
Oh, new
that's
single.
Called Guns
Okay.
on the. Yeah. So what we're gonna do over the next couple of months is we're gonna drop a new single every month. I'm gonna cross my fingers, and that's our plan. But the first single that's coming out is Guns on the Playground. And the crazy thing is, when my brother saw my post, he called me and he goes, I go, what? And he goes, I saw that post. He goes, don't you think that's a bit of a dicey title for now? And I was like, the crazy thing about that is, I go, dude, that song was written in 2013. I had 90% of the lyrics, but didn't have everything for it. And musically it was written. And then I just needed Pat to, put his imprint on it and take the electronics and stuff and take it to the stratosphere. And we kept saying, because our problem is we have a studio at Pat's. We don't pay for studio time. There's no record label standing over us going, guys, let's go. We need that single. So you can have one song. Dude, I have a song the music was recorded right after Still Suffering was done. And we just released it 3 years ago on Between Unholy and Divine, Volume 1. Volume 2. Pat was like, dude, it's too bad we had this song and you never came up with vocals for it. You didn't find anything you liked lyrically. And then 28 years later, I'm listening to it, and all of a sudden the neurons are frying in my head, and I'm like, oh, typing as fast as I can in my notepad. And then it was like, hey, yeah, that song was old. We finally got it done. But that was the same thing with Guns in the Playground. It was like 2012 or 2013 is when it was birthed. And then some of the stuff we were going through was like, dude, this stuff is so poignant for this time. Like, we should have already released some of this. And it was like, you know what? I'm like, now's a better time than ever. So we finalized that a couple of weeks ago, uploaded everything to the servers and stuff. And on the 17th is when it goes live. And then like the other night, we were mixing the next single, which is going to come the following month. And we're going to try to do that for a little bit because not everybody makes albums anymore. A lot of it's EPs, a lot of it's singles. And it's like, you know what? The big thing too is you got to have some kind of content, because you put out an album, Spotify numbers go up, Apple Music go up, your interaction on all the socials goes up. But then after a couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 months, it tapers down, and it goes low, low, low till your next thing. So it's like, you always got to have something out, even if it's just a B-side, a remix or something. And it's like, give people something. And a lot of times we give a lot of stuff away for free, like a free EP. We had, dude, in 1998, I did a cover of No Presents for Christmas from King Diamond. And it was found on Alex Parker from Flying Tart Records found his, in his storage. He found a bin with DATs and ADATs and all this stuff. And he was just like, oh, hey, man, you'll never guess what I came across. And he sent a picture of it. And I was like, I thought that was lost in the ether forever. So it was like last Christmas, just like 2 or 3 days before Christmas, we just put it up on our Bandcamp as a free download. There's remix EPs, there's stuff that you can only find on our Bandcamp that's exclusive, that we just, we're musicians, but we're also music lovers, music buyers, everybody wants to get something for free. Everybody wants to get something cool, or, hey man, this was never released. It's a part of our history, whether you like it or not, or appreciate it. We're putting it out to you. Here you go. This is our Christmas present to you this year, like we did with Downside with Brian and Jim, Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun. Our problem is we just have way too many hard drives sitting with way too many sequences and structures. And that's why we started really, instead of focusing on new stuff, we started going through our archives. And dude, Pat has a stack of hard drives that's probably 13 or 14 inches tall, and they're just external drives that are just full, fragments, guitar riffs, loops, you name it. There's some stuff on there that's gold. There's some stuff that it was just like, oh my God, why did I do this? You listen to it and you're like, what was I thinking when I did this? But you can't beat that buried treasure aspect. You come across something and you're like, wow, I don't remember this. And then it starts playing and you're like, I totally remember this. I remember the melody line I was humming 32 years ago. I don't have words, but I have a melody line. And it's weird how your mind bookmarks like that. He'll play stuff now and he'll, do you remember this? What's it called? You labeled it Dancey, Heavy, Thrashy 1. And I was like, that's how my mind was labeling it. And I don't even know what that is. And then he starts playing it and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And it's funny how your brain works like that. But it's good though. At least we're getting to churn out some stuff, newer and older. So some stuff is like, at least it's not sitting around just collecting dust anymore. It's coming to the light of day.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. So this episode should drop on the 17th as well. So perfect timing.
Nice. Yeah. Are any of you guys going to TomCon? Are you in the area there?
I really wanted to. Unfortunately, I'm the right coast, but I've blown my concert budget out, so I can't make it. Unfortunately, you're going to be there.
Yes. Pat and because I'm in Santa Cruz and Pat's in San Jose, so we're Central Coast. He's Bay Area, I'm Central Coast, so we're gonna. It's funny, we're still trying to organize everything because I didn't plan on getting a dog, and plane tickets were like $500 each. So it looks like we're going to do work, probably do like a marathon 6 to 8 hour drive, get there the night before, hang out for the 2 days, and then leave again. all dependent on if I can get somebody to pet sit. So
Right.
There you go.
it's you
If
know,
only
I'm
I was
across-
closer. I'm in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
I'm up in Massachusetts, so
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Where in
So,
Massachusetts?
Cape Cod, actually.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because I was born and raised in Long Island, and
Yes.
I was born in New York City, raised on Long Island, and my ex-wife is from Rhode Island, and I spent a lot of time up in Boston, you know, going to see bands like King's X at the Middle East and stuff like
Dude,
that.
I love the Middle East. That's one of my favorite venues.
Yeah, and it's crazy. When I worked for Ringling Brothers, because I don't know if you remember, the train tracks were right next to the Middle East. We
Yes.
were unloading 2 blocks away, and I remember getting out of work just being covered in grease and getting down there to see them before the end of the show, before our train was getting ready to depart. So it was like I came in like kind of like a wrecking ball, got to see the last 3 songs, talk to Doug, hey, love you, miss you, sorry, gotta go, but yeah. Crazy.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And our other co-host, right now he's driving down to Alabama for Furnace Fest. The rest of us are going to fly down and meet him there, but he's driving down. He's from Rhode Island.
Wow, nice. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Furnace Fest. We wanted to play. I reached out to them last year because we heard it was going to be the last one. And they said, we'll get back to you, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody was pretty much, well, that sucks. It's done. And then they were like, but wait, are we done? Are we not?
Right.
Which I thought it was so cool because it was like, oh, man. But, it's a little harder being here, to make it down there. And especially, pets and, well, you guys know, I don't know your personal situation, but like with us, it's like Pat's married with 3 kids, mortgage, there's health insurance, there's all this stuff. And it's like, it's not like when you were in your teens and gas was $1.85 a gallon,
Right.
and you just
Right.
put 8 people in a freaking Toyota Corolla and drive 5 hours to see somebody. Now
Right.
it's like you have to plan everything out. There's got to be PTO. You got to get paid. I can't go out. Can't go out and have fun and then come back and be like, well, why is there no lights? Oh yeah, you didn't have money to pay the bills. And it's the same with performing. And most bands are in the same thing these days, whether you're going as a bystander or a musician. Even as a musician, it's even harder because it's not like, okay, well, I'll just jump on a plane and go or hop in a car. If you're like 4 or 5 dudes and you don't have your own transportation, you have to rent, you have to pay for gas. I don't know about by you, but gas here is $5.45 a gallon, $5.85 a gallon down the block. During COVID, it hit $7 a gallon down the block.
Oh, wow.
I have to go across town now to pay $4.69 at Costco, and that's the cheapest gas around. Meanwhile, I was just in New York in August visiting my family, and my brother was like, "Yeah, I paid $2.49 a gallon with my 30 cents off from the grocery store from my app," and I was like, "Dude." I'm like, how is this even possible? But here it's all, it's all tax, it's all craziness, but it's just things are different. So that's like for us, we haven't played in a while, but like when we do, it's like you have to really plan things out, and like in Pat's case, if you only get a week or 2 weeks of vacation, you can't just tell your wife, oh, by the way, I'm going away with the band for 2 weeks. You're going to be here with the kids. Everything has to be even. You have to make, first of all, family and stuff obviously is going to come first, but you have to try to plan everything out so everybody's happy. You still get to do your thing and everybody still gets to have fun. But, if you don't have a paid vacation or you have a paid vacation, but you can't afford to go anywhere, it's, that's that. I hate the term staycation, but look at the past couple of years where people were like, I had to miss out on festival season. Thank God, some festivals do live streams. Otherwise, What are you going to do? Listen to somebody's YouTube audio or Facebook? You're like, hey, I haven't seen this band in 35 years. They're playing in town. And it sounds like, it was recorded in a garbage can because it's just some dude holding the phone.
Not the same.
That's the ebb and flow of being an adult because there's responsibilities. You can't just drop everything and go have fun. Everything has to be in its place, Then you can have fun.
Speaking of responsibilities, I should probably duck out because I've got kids that I need to, I think, bathe and then put to bed. So I I gotta go, but these guys are gonna hang out longer. So if you've got time,
Yeah,
feel
yeah, yeah. I
free.
can chill. I can chill. Again,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I came in late and it was
Not
just
at
kind of
all.
crazy.
No,
But
That was good.
sorry, I've got these constrictions. It's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking some
nice
time
to see
with
you
us.
as well. Take
Yeah.
care.
Have a great time at TomCon.
Thank you.
Brock, do you got an outro?
Oh, yeah. That's the news from Lake Skabegon, where all of the industrial metal is repairable and weldable, perhaps by Klank, where all the albums by Klank are fantastic, and where all of the Zoom calls are above average. Why don't we say where all the pet adoptions are above average? I feel like that's
you
probably
go.
the better. Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very good. All right.
Cool. Thanks,
Nice
Brock.
to meet you. Cheers.
Take care. Nice to meet you as well.
Have a good night, Brock.
So where are you guys at?
So I'm in North Carolina,
Oh.
also on the East Coast. So yeah, not going to make it to TomCon. Would love to.
Are you in where? Raleigh?
I'm close. I'm about 45 minutes south of Raleigh in Coates is what little town is what it's called.
Nice.
Yeah.
I played Raleigh a bunch with Circle of Dust
Yeah.
and Klank. There was a place, I want to say it was called Snookers.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Back in the day. It was funny because Circle of Dust was playing a place. It was this club. Oh man, I want to say that night it was Snookers in Raleigh. It was like there was like a strip mall, this club thing. We were playing and some tour bus pulls up and it was freaking Napalm Death. Their record label, Epic or whoever it was, sent them down because they had heard of us. So they came down to basically kind of critique us and see, because they had a night off. And it was funny because the tour manager was a friend of a friend of a friend of mine. And he was like, oh, hey, I know so-and-so. And he told me to come and say hi. And it was like, oh, hey, that kind of thing. And that night we hung out with the guys from Napalm Death. They were like riding skateboards around while we were playing. Pretty funny. And yeah, it was just really trippy. But then we did that. And then the next night we were in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Myrtle
South
Beach.
Carolina,
That
yeah.
was, yeah, that was cool because there's a place called Rock Burgers.
Okay.
And it was of all things, Perry, the bass player of Firehouse, who is now the bass player in Striper, owned that club.
Really?
Yeah, so back in the day, he had booked the show for us, and we went down there, and he brought us to the radio station that morning. It was like a morning drive radio and stuff. And then when I saw it said, oh, Perry Richardson is now with Striper, I reached out, I said, I saw the tattoo on his arm. It looked like vertebrae. And I said, are you the same Perry from Rock Burgers? He goes, what do you know about Rock Burgers? I'm like, I was with Circle of Dust. You booked us. We played at Rock Burgers. You put us up at the hotel that was directly behind the club. And each room was a themed room. Like there was a Janis Joplin room, a Jimi Hendrix
that's
room,
cool.
a Rolling Stones room. Yeah, it was on the beach. And he was just like, he goes, how do you remember that? And I said, I don't know. I'm like, but this dude, but he was one of the coolest dudes ever. And we had a great show.
Yeah.
And we ended up blowing out their PA because we had so much low end. It was so great. And he was cool about it too, for the most part. But yeah.
And you guys were
That's
on
awesome.
the Striper tribute album as well.
Yes. The Way. Yeah, that was fun. That's another one Alex had put out from Flying Tart.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw Alex a couple of months ago. He actually came and spent about a week here because he was up in Roseville, like north. He was living in Los Angeles and then went up north and said, hey, I'm coming back down to empty out like a storage unit. You know, you're like the midway point. Is there any way I can hang and crash for a couple of days? I was like, yeah, sure. At that point, I hadn't seen Alex since 1998, 1999. So, he came and hung out and stuff. And then that's when he was just like, oh, look what I found in storage. Check this out. And he was pulling out like, fluffy EPs and all these random obscure things that he had that nobody had ever heard. He even had a thing. It was funny when I was staying in Nashville at his house and then bouncing to our friend Chris and Amy's. And Chris Colbert had a studio set up there. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, you should go hang out with Chris sometime. So I went down to Chris and I actually had recorded a sort of acoustic version of a new Klank song with Chris Colbert, which was just bizarre because it's so not that genre. But it was really cool. And we hung out and was just so weird. Like now, like when replaying notes in your mind, and it was just like, yeah, it was in kind of a rough part of town, and me looking like me and him looking like him, coming out of studio at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like, quick, hurry to the car so we don't die, but it was awesome. Yeah.
I know Jared would love to hear about the coffee collaboration that you've
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, so are you a coffee fiend?
I am. I try to be, yeah.
Yes. So we did my friend Jake Landrau, who was originally a guitar player in Left Out with Brian Gray, who has also played for Klank on and off for like 20 years. He lives in upstate New York, and he has a company called Oak and Crow Coffee.
Okay.
Still a great guy. Still, great dude. Love that dude. Talk to him. And we were talking one day, and he said, how would you feel about doing a coffee collaboration? And I'm like, well, where do I sign? What do we do?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can send you some samples, try different things. What kind of stuff do you personally like? So we were talking, comparing stuff. And I said, there's dark, there's this. And I said, I like light to medium. Dark's cool, but sometimes it can be a bit bitter. In Italian, they gives it an agita, like acid reflux.
Yeah.
So it was like, so we went back and forth, sent some things, and we settled on something. I think it was like an Ethiopian kind of blend. And the thing is, because the album we were coming out with was 2 parts, Between Unholy and Divine, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So we came up with Between Unholy and the Grind. So it was an an industrial strength coffee collaboration between Klank and Oak and Crow Coffee.
Very cool.
And I think it's like $20 a bag or something like that. And we still have it. We still sell it. And I still have it. I still have it up in my cabinet. Like I still, because I have a French press, but I also have a Keurig. My thing is the Keurig is just quick for the on the go, but I have the adapter piece so I can put whatever in it. So that's how I rock the Klank coffee and some of the other stuff I get. A lot of times there's another company called, you probably heard of it, Utica Coffee from Utica, New York.
Yep.
Dude. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had a cannoli before, but they have cannoli coffee at Utica Brewing, Utica Coffee, and dude, it is killer. I love it.
Nice.
Really?
So if you want to put that in the back of your Instagram wish list, not Instagram, Amazon. Yeah, so it's cannoli coffee, but yeah. So with our one, we're pretty stoked on it. It's done pretty well, and I have probably 3 cups a day. I live on coffee, so
same.
Yeah, I have a bag of it. It's in the mail, so it hasn't shown up yet. But
nice. Yeah, I love coffee. I'm like, I'm kind of naturally wired to begin with, as you could tell. but especially my problem too is I've been having issues like the last 2 years. I don't sleep. I have no problem falling asleep, but I can't stay asleep. So I get between 2.5 and 3 hours of sleep every night, and that's it for the past like 2+ years. So when I say I operate during the day on like, fumes, coffee, and sometimes hate, that's what it is. It's just like, that's how your morning starts. You haven't even put your foot down on the ground yet. And I'm like, my body's shaking from lack of sleep. Reminds me of the party days. We won't discuss those. But yeah, good times.
That's all, yeah.
And I also do need to say, Jeremy Allen Gould says hi, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's from Murray Hill Theater, right? Florida?
Yeah. Yep.
And Rumors Are True?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I did an interview with him. And it's funny, when you first reached out, I was like, I know this name. I know this name. And then when I saw his picture, I was like, oh, that guy. I remember that guy. That guy was cool. Yeah. I'm hoping he's going to be there at TomCon.
He is.
Yeah,
he is.
He's a moderator on one of the panels. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool though. I didn't know Jeremy was going to be there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The whole thing with this is a lot of those guys, like, dude, I haven't seen Mikey since the last time we played Tomfest, which I want to say was 1999. Some of these people, like Alan is a great friend of mine. I've known him so many years. The last time I saw Alan was when we came through town, and I was still working with Ringling Brothers. And I got him and his family tickets and comps and stuff to come in. And ironically, it was my birthday. So I had to take a half day off. I went to hang out with him and his family. We went to one of their friends' house. We were in the pool, the whole nine. And then it was like, okay, guys, I got to go back to work. But, follow me. Let's go to the arena. And, they got to hang out and do their thing. But all these people, like, I haven't seen Raphael since 2008. I haven't seen Gyro and Jerome since I think the last time Circle of Dust toured with Mortal, which would have been 1993.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I randomly ran into Jerome. He had just started playing with Switchfoot, and I think we were at Cornerstone, and some dude went whizzing by me on a golf cart, and I was like, Jerome! And he turned around and he was like, whoa, stop. He got off the thing, gave each other a big hug. He's like, I'm like, dude, I haven't seen you in forever. And that was the last time I saw him, but that was 1996 or 7.
Wow.
We need Pete. He would know exactly when it was.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so the problem too with me is a lot of these things, dude, after all these shows and after all these years, they just kind of all morph and blend into this one convoluted memory where you lose track of timing. You remember faces and places, but sometimes the timeline is off. But seeing some of the people that were going to be there is like, whenever Brian Gray comes to town, he always reaches out. I get a chance to see him. Jim comes to town to hang out with Brian or whatever. I see him,
Cool.
once every couple of. I've been lucky the last 3 years in a row. I got to see Brian. I saw Jim the last 2 years in a row, but I hadn't seen Mike Rowe from the 77s since I want to say Cornerstone 97, maybe. And, because he grew up not too far from here. And I always reach out, hey, man, when are you coming back to town? And he'll go, oh, ironically, I'm going to be there this date. So him and I met up for breakfast at this place in Los Gatos that he used to go to as a kid or something and hung out. And it was like, dude, it was so weird. It was like, man, I was like, I haven't seen you. I feel like 7 lifetimes have passed since the last time we saw each other face to face. But that's what I told Mikey Bridges when we did the little interview thing about TomCon. It was like, dude, some of this it's like a high school reunion. You're seeing people that you might not, people over the years, some people couldn't come to the show on tour for whatever. And then, we couldn't afford to come to the West Coast. We could only afford to do an East Coast tour or a Midwest tour or whatever. Or for whatever reason, you don't see people. And it's like, now you're going to see the artists, the friends, the acquaintances, the people that you knew and you did shows and tours and fests with, but also in such an intimate setting like Tom Fest, where, like Mikey, his big thing is, there are no VIPs. There was never VIPs.
Right.
Every ticket was a VIP. You get to hang out. There was so many people. I'd be hanging out like in the not food truck area, the concession area. You end up talking to somebody and like, oh, hey, I remember you. Oh, yeah, I was at that show 3 years ago. I drove 9 hours with 5 other people and we videotaped, and you start comparing notes. And it was like when Pat and I first were approached from Mikey and he was like, would you be interested in doing this? And we were like, who have you spoke to already about this? And he started rattling off some names. Oh, we got this guy, this guy, this guy. This guy's tentative. This guy's this. And we were like, oh my God, dude, how could we say no? You know what I'm saying? It's almost as cool as playing the show. But the only thing is I don't have to lug my crap. I don't have to pay.
Right.
I don't have to pay somebody to watch a merch booth or whatever. It's like, this is more, we're still going to bring merch and stuff, but this is more of a freeing thing. You get to, because if you're doing a show, it's like you got to be there by a certain time. You got to check in. You got to do sound check. You got to do your thing. And then you got to leave because you got X amount of time to drive. This is 2 days. If you want to hang out for a day or two, you do. You want to hang out both days. You don't have anything to go. There's no reason to leave the convention center. They got food. They got pools. They got a bar or restaurant. They got everything. And then they have the event. It's like, I can just imagine the people we're going to run into, because at this point it's like, and I'm sure you guys are the same. You see people at shows over the years. Oh, hey, I haven't seen you since blah, 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 blah. And for us, it's like, and my problem with my brain is I'm good with faces. I'm not good with names. I just blanketly call people dude. Just, hey, dude, how you doing? But
I think we're kindred spirits there.
My kryptonite Dude, my kryptonite is when someone goes up and goes, "Oh, dude, you remember me, right?" And I'm like, and instantly it's like that Etch-a-Sketch.
Yep.
It's erased, and I'm just like, duh, duh, duh. I don't remember anything right now. And and I'm usually good until someone says, "You remember me, right?" Or "Do you remember my name?" And then my brain just goes
Nope.
off. Lack of fuel. It's like I don't remember at that point, but there's so many people you see them like across a room or across a crowd, and you're like, I know that dude. I hung out with that dude, and I'm looking forward to that same feeling, that same vibe, because there was so many people from Tomfest. The first time we were up there, it was like our guys were just walking around. We were from the East Coast. We didn't really get to the West Coast often. We really only did one Circle of Dust tour that dipped into the West Coast. Everything else was East Coast, lots and lots and lots and lots of Georgia, Carolinas, Florida. Now it's like you start seeing these people or they start sending you, "Hey, you remember this photo from 1997? Remember this photo from 1998? This is you and me and your drummer in front of the funnel cake booth," or whatever. And it's just like, oh my God. And then I look and I'm like, oh yeah, I had abs. What happened? I was roofing 6 days a week. I was ripped. I had a swimmer's build then.
I did want to mention, so you were talking about the Tom Conversations video.
Yes.
You brought up an experience coming from the East Coast out to the West Coast that I also ran into when my old band was on tour out on the West Coast. And that is, I got stopped by the police for, oh no.
I bet he hit something on the phone. Here we go. He's back.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I went to, because I don't usually do this with the earbuds in.
Yep.
And I went like this to move the hair back and raise the volume, and I hit the button, and all of a sudden, like, it disappeared.
Oh no!
I'm so sorry. So, what's it? You were on your way to the?
We were out on tour on the West Coast, and decided to cross the street. We got about 3/4 of the way across, and all of a sudden, this police car stops us. Guy jumps out, all bent out of shape. "What do you guys think you're doing?" We're like, crossing the street. It was, probably like 8:30 or so at night, like nobody around. He's like, you're jaywalking. And my brother goes, "Wait, that's a thing?" He's like, "What do you mean? Is that a thing?" He's like, "Where are you guys from?" And we're like, "We're from Boston." He's like, "So you guys just cross the street, like wherever you feel like it?" And we're like, "Yeah."
That's nuts. This is bizarre because my Bluetooth speaker just literally died on me. But hang on, I'm trying to raise the volume.
Yep.
Isn't it funny how the police come out of nowhere for something as petty as that?
So he made us go back across the street and then walk like all the way up the street to the crosswalk and then cross there, and then he left. Like he followed us, like marched us up to it.
For what end? For what?
Right.
For what? Because he could? Was that it? Just because he could?
Nothing else going on, I guess.
It must have been a slow night. There was nobody doing burnouts behind the Dairy Queen or something.
Right.
So he had to find somebody to mess with. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was just because that was like my first trip to California was weird with that whole thing. And Brian was like, "Dude, you don't understand. You stick out." And I'm like, "Look at it. Everybody around here looks like me." And he goes, No, they don't. They don't sound like you either. And he was just like, you're like an easy target. You have a target on your back. I was like, okay, whatever. But hey, at least I don't feel alone now.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, when I heard that story, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell Klank this.
Like, that's funny. I lived it myself.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Where were you guys when that happened?
I believe it was in Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where Mikey had the push, right? Wasn't that in Portland?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to play that place. Oh, see, this is where the brain just goes, Durr. I know it was definitely once. I don't know if it was twice. No, it might have been once, and then Tomfest was twice. Because I do remember being so blown away about the Bridge of the Gods. That bridge where it was like you paid a nickel or whatever it was to cross the bridge. Yep. And it was the bridge where you could see through the bottom, so you could see the water underneath and all that. And
Yeah.
dude, it was just, and I just remember us in the van going, I could go back and forth over this all day, man. This is just, yeah. And it's weird because I haven't been to Portland. I haven't been to Portland since, but that's actually where Brian's living now with his mom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just out there for Thunderfest.
Oh yeah, they played that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I got to talk to Brian for a
Right.
little bit, which was cool. I had talked to him previously down at Furnace Fest.
Nice.
But yeah, always great to see him and say hi. And,
So who else played that? Because wasn't like Living Sacrifice or somebody playing?
yep, Living Sacrifice, No Innocent Victims, Squad 50, Huntington's, Wish for Eden.
So did that festival just kind of pop out of nowhere? Because I never heard of it, and then all of a sudden it was like Thunderfest.
Yeah, yeah. It was a brand new festival this year, so not a huge crowd, which was kind of a bummer, for Carmen who put it on, but
Yeah.
but I mean, all the bands that were there, it's like they played as if it was sold out, and
Was
everybody
it in a regular venue?
It was outside, so it was like right underneath like one of the bridges in like downtown Portland.
Nice.
It was really cool. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and kind of like how TomCon will be. Like all the bands were there and like just hanging out, so like you could hang out with them, talk to them.
That's cool.
Yeah, Blaster the Rocket Man played. I'm trying to think, there was a lot of guys who Don't Know was there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was like a ton of like and like other guys from like other bands. Dale from the Cooties new band was there.
Nice. But would you Wish for Eden hasn't played in like 30 years or something like that, right?
Right. And I guess they're working on some new music too.
Nice.
So yeah,
Wow.
it was a lot of fun.
So I'm assuming the promoter guy was based from there. That's why they picked that area.
Yeah. She's up in the Northwest there.
Man, it's so weird because festivals are so few and far between now, unless it's Aftershock or a big thing or a European one. All the smaller festivals, I mean, the cost of doing business. A lot of times people lose their shirts.
Yep.
For whatever reason, and it's like it's good to see that people still have. They're still trying to keep the machine going. They're still trying to, because that's one of those things too. Like what year is it that you're going to see those bands on a bill? And here it is, they're facilitating it in 2025. Like it's unheard of.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, the crowd was, wasn't that big, but everybody who was there, like, man.
I bet they were like totally geeking out on it,
I know I was.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was definitely something that's everybody who went, got something really special. So
that's really cool. That's really cool. And this is a friend of yours that put it on?
Yeah, I met her at Furnace Fest a couple of years ago, and then just kind of through like the Facebook community and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out when we were out there on tour on the West Coast, we're going through and we get a phone call. Hey, we've got an opportunity to put you on this festival up in the Northwest. It's in Skamania. And in my brain, because I was huge into like Tooth and Nail and like all that type of stuff. I'm like, what festival is in the North? Oh my God, are we playing Tom Fest? Well, turns out this was the year after Tom Fest had ended. So
what was it? What festival?
So it was called Not Tom Fest. So it was, like I don't even remember the names of all the bands that played. Like I know the Stivs played, like that Cliffy Huntington was in. So we ended up playing that. Turns out Carmen, who put on Thunderfest, she was the one who booked that festival that year.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy how things kind of come full circle sometimes.
Right.
What's crazy is, I don't know if you know, there's a guy, his name is Punk Rock Scott, from Drexel University from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He has a vinyl. Is it Burnt Toast?
Burnt Toast,
vinyl?
yeah.
Burnt Toast vinyl.
Oh, wait, Scott Hatch?
Scott Hatch, yeah, Punk Rock Scott. So Circle of Dust had played at Drexel University. Klank had played there, and then I took a train to I took a Greyhound to a train to Philly because EDL was showing up there, and I went on tour to road manage for them when they were playing with POD.
Oh, nice.
And crazy thing is, there was a woman there, Scott Hatch's associate, and it was named Julie Bard, Bard. And she was like, she helped put on shows and stuff. And I get this Facebook message that says, "Oh my God, are you in Santa Cruz?" I was like, "Yeah, pretty much. It's a small town in Santa Cruz." I go, "But I'm here." And she's like, "You got to be kidding me." She goes, "Where are you?" So I tell her. She's 2 miles away.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, "No way." So she came to my church. It was funny because she brought her dog down to my church, and she walked in, and I was like, dude, the last time I saw her was 98, maybe 98, 99. And so she came to church, we hung out, and it was just so funny. I was like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I live like 2 exits away. Like off the highway." She goes, "I know exactly where you're at." So we hung out and we caught up and stuff, and it was just like, it was just so bizarre. And she's like, "I haven't seen you in so many years." And you start comparing notes and you talk about bands, and she's like, "Oh, I remember." She goes, "Remember we were at the diner and we took that picture?" I'm like, "What picture? What diner?" She goes, "Don't you remember?" I was like, I said, "Look," I said, "you got to understand." I said, "After all these years, new memories come in and the old ones kind of get pushed out, so I kind of forget." Yep. But it was kind of cool because then she stumbled across the photo and she sent it to me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was just like, it was me sitting at a diner and I had my eyes crossed, and it was the guys from EDL and a bunch of people sitting around, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, I don't even remember this, but it was so funny because it was like a total by chance. And here she is, she's from the East Coast, she's from Philadelphia, she's working with Scott Hatch, and then I get a random text message 2 weeks ago, and it's a video, and she's like, "Hey Klank, how you doing?" And she's in a car, and as the camera turns, there's Scott Hatch. "Hey dude, how you doing?" And I was like, "Holy crap, like, what are you doing?" She goes, "I'm in Pennsylvania." And I was like, "Dude, I was just on the East Coast visiting my family in Long Island, and I was in Pennsylvania about an hour from where she was." And it was we literally were crisscrossing the country.
Right.
I didn't even know until after the fact, but it was just so funny. And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, it's so weird how this world is so big, but so small still at the same time, that something like that, talking about meeting people and seeing people, and, going to that, the Thunderfest like you did, and seeing people that you hadn't talked to. And that's why I was like, this whole thing with the TomCon, it all comes back to the whole TomCon thing of who are we going to see? I mean, some people, and those few faces, that stuck out from all the shows, the same guy that would stage dive, the same guy that had a battle vest, the same guy that had, he had 5 piercings, but he had safety pins and not actual piercings. And
right.
I'm like seeing the stills, the snapshots of like the crowds, or like, I wasn't like buddy with the MXPX guys, but I was friends with Mike. And I remember they played, and I remember sitting on a box next to Yuri while they were playing. And people were like, "Dude, what the heck were you doing at an MXPX concert?" I'm like, "I don't know. They said they were going to bring the punk, so I was seeing what the punk was all about, And then, talking to people years later, "Remember me? We took that photo at the MXPX show and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "No, I don't remember. Don't you remember? I put my shirt over my head." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you now." It's like that type thing where people start bringing up these things, and you're like, how can I not forget, or a weird thing that happened at the show or whatever, and it's just so weird. You talk about a show and you're like, "Oh, don't you remember you played that place?" And it was like we did a tour with Bride.
Oh, wow.
It was Klank and Bride, and we played in Des Moines, Iowa, and it was called Farley's. It was a arcade, and they had this makeshift stage that they put together. It looked almost like, for lack of a better phrase, ping pong tables, but that were only like, let's say 2 feet tall. And as we're playing, we're, me, Brian, Pat, Ducci, everybody, we're jumping. And, you got to also remember, we had 4 guitarists, 4 full stacks back then on the Still Suffering tour. And as we're playing, we're jumping and jumping in the stage. Here's her leg. The legs are spreading because the stage is spreading apart. And it's almost like you're doing a split, you know, like you're Chuck Norris. You know, you're trying to play and not fall through the stage. And there's people in front of the stage, these two girls and these guys, like, and I'm looking at Pat and I'm like, we're playing. I'm like, are they holding the stage together? Yeah, dude, they're the only one holding the stage together.
Oh, no.
Otherwise, we would fall through the stage. And then it was like, you know, next time around coming through town, I was like, you remember me? I'm like, you look familiar. I was holding the stage together when it was collapsing. I'm like, ah! You know, just some weird stuff like that. You're like, who thinks of that stuff? That bookmark in your head, you know? And but
Yep.
it was a crazy story and something that, you know, took place that you're like, it made that mental bookmark in your head. And then you look at them and then all the memories start coming back. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, we did the fans versus the bands. We played laser tag and we got dusted, man. We got dusted. I'd never played laser tag before, but I was like, talk about being outnumbered, man. And that place was crazy. There was like 700 or 800 kids in this arcade. And I remember we showed up and it was snowing. We had lost our front brakes on the way. Oh, dude, it was so, like, to the point where our caliper had locked. And we came to a screeching halt in front of the doors to unload, to the point where somebody at the show was a mechanic, and it was a Sunday the next day, and he took our van in to fix our brakes for us on his day off. And he was like, you know, I'm missing church for this. And we're like, hey, man, sorry. I'm like, we have a gig. We still need to drive 8 more hours to get to a gig. But, yeah, kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, that's wild.
So weird. So bizarre. And meanwhile, who knows? Like I said, like the cast of characters and people we're going to see at the convention. Like I know some people that are from up in that area that originally where it was that said, "Oh, I'm going to try to come down." One guy was a guy who was a fan guy who I was pretty friendly with, and he sent a picture of him and I. And dude, when I say I was like 165 pounds. That was like, I was roofing 6 days a week. I was like kind of ripped. I was skinny, but I had like a swimmer's build. And he sent this picture of him and I was like, oh, what happened to me? Look at me now. I'm like,
right.
And I was looking at it and I was wearing a tank top and I was like doing like, you know, one of these, like pointing. And I was just like, oh, I'd kill to see an ab. Oh my God.
Right.
You know, like, I was like, time has not been nice, you know.
Oh, this has been fantastic.
Yeah, man, I had a great time. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but I appreciate you guys.
That's perfect.
Catering to my psychosis.
Dude, that's honestly, excellent. That is exactly like how we do this show. Like we are like, we just let it go where it goes. And a lot of times it is all over the place, but you know, the main thing is like, is the guest having fun? Are we having fun? Cool. If we're having fun,
that's when you unearth the rarest of the diamonds. You come across stories and stuff. And you're like, if you would have just stuck to a strict format where, okay, next question, you miss all that. Yep. You know, I know it's a lot of circling back and that kind of thing, but you know, I love the open dialogue thing where you go, we have a little bit of parameters. We'll mention this, and this, but whatever else is just free range. But yeah. I dig that, you know, and I definitely had a great time with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have to have you back on for sure. Because
Definitely love to have Pat too next time because he's also a good one.
Oh yeah.
A lot of things I don't remember, like in the Tom Fest, the one where I start talking about Alan with the candles and throwing the lit candles in the barn, and he goes, "I knew exactly where you were going with this."
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to the single coming out, and best of luck at TomCon. You know, looking forward to hearing the stories that come out of that.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Have a great night.
All right, man. You too.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so everybody should go check out Klank's Bandcamp. Check out the new single that should be out now. Check out some of the older stuff. And as always, onward, Pickle Soldiers.
Another perfect podcast in the can.
Nailed it.
Crushed it. Well done, sir.